Okay, so hello everyone. This is Veni Vidi Vici. It's been a while since I've casted some games for you guys, but I'm gonna bring you here the first game of this Age of Empires Spring Championship. Well, actually, it's not the first game played, but the first game that I'm gonna cast. It's a championship here the coming months, February and March, and I think the beginning of April, hosted by Maido and Amhaya, and H2O also helping out with the organization, and then myself and Zuta and Interjection helping out with casting. We are currently still in the group stages, so that means everyone is playing a BO1 versus every opponent in their group, and the next round will be BO3 and so forth. Currently I'm not sure which group it is, but the players are heroes here in red, playing Russia, and we have Diarouga, or something like that, I believe he's French, Diarouga, playing India. As you might have noticed, this is not a normal map you see out there in the other tournaments. This is the map Kamchatka. All the maps for a tournament, or most of the maps actually, are made by Gaia. And he made these maps with the idea to have a more balanced matchup, or more balanced game, I should say. So he focused on things like even resources evenly spread out. Like you see, for example, both have two mines relatively close. Same with the hunts. So in all situations it should be a balanced map and thus result in a more fair game. Just a quick note, Amhaya asked me to tell you guys that the group stages and everything that's played will be updated every day during the week around 8 PM European time, so that's GMT +1. So everyone who posts a recorded game, it might not show right away in the brackets, but around 8 PM he will update it, and then you should see every result. So, about the matchup here, India versus Russia. It's going to be tough for Russia, of course, to deal with the power of the Indians. As you know, India has two scouting elephants here. He, I believe, scouted the right part of the map. Something interesting to note here is that on this map you, of course, have a trading post, a trading route here. Both players have one trading post relatively close to their base, and the other one is in the center, and you have to fight for it. I believe in the center here there was a... Not sure where you got it, okay. Usually on this map, in the center part, we have some additional resources like 2 mines and 1 or 2 hunts, as you see over here. And also in the start, like an 80 corn and 90 wood treasure. The map is kind of designed that if you go for this center part with your hero, with your explorer, to go for the treasure, you will get a good treasure, but that means that the other guy will have some more additional smaller treasures on the side, such as this one. 35 food or 35 coin, and some additional goats. This map also has goats, that is livestock, and of course if you have goats over time they will get more food. We see that heroes here, let me bring up the sound. Heroes here is stole a treasure here from Diarouga, barely in time. So what can we expect here? Of course there are several options here. If it's going to be an aggressive game, like if both of them want to play aggressive, India has the advantage, I would say, with the aggro fort and the shipments and the units they can make. That probably means that Russia will go for a more defensive play, for example a blockhouse somewhere over here. Russia can try to play in H2 like long colonial. However, that's going to be very hard. They might even try to do some kind of semi-FF, so try to age up to the 3rd age relatively fast. However, if India does a similar thing, it would be still a very tough situation. To be honest, this matchup, I haven't played it that much. I think it's very, very hard for the Russians in general. It's actually interesting because this matchup was played, I believe, between Darwin and H2O in the previous tournament, where H2O took it. He was India and Darwin was Russia. Not sure how the matchup exactly went, but what's this? I have to mention, by the way, that Heroes, he has been, he was a good player for a long time, but he has been a bit inactive lately, very busy with his studies and such, so he is probably a little bit rusty. You saw some small things like herding with 4 villagers. That's of course not something you want to do. You want to use 1 villager to bring in your herds close to your town center, and then later on let your other villagers move towards the hunts that are close, so that you don't have so much walking time. Anyway, he scouts the aggro fort in a defensive position. he's bringing this hunt with 1 villager, and he's bringing a blockhouse with 4 villagers. This is very interesting, and to be honest, a little bit unorthodox play. First of all, he's building it with 4 villagers. That means, of course, 4 villagers have to walk all the way from a town center towards this position. Of course, then you lose a lot of gathering time and thus less resources. Maybe he wants to go for some kind of fast rush. It looks like maybe using up the advantage that he ages up a little bit faster in India, of course. Oh, by the way, a quick shout out, as I did already, I think, to Gaia for making those maps. I really like the maps from this tournament. The map order in general is very nice, but I believe like 4 or 5 maps or something are made by him. And if you haven't seen them so far, you will for sure in this tournament. And they are just very, very nice to play on. Very balanced, very entertaining matches, because I always have been a little bit annoyed sometimes by, for example, lacking a hunt or whatever. Anyway, also a quick shout out to Azemk, because he made this UI file again, so you can see that I as a caster have several additional options available to see how the game progresses and to see what each player is doing, to have a better idea instead of just guessing cards and stuff like that. Also here on top you see the aging and the resources. So back to the game fast. What I wanted to say is that Russia might want to go for this 4 villager blockhouse building, because he can then take more advantage of his faster age up. Russia, as a European civilization, should age faster than India, and that means that you also have your Cossacks and your Strelets out earlier. There you see it, 5 Cossacks taking out 1 villager. Taking out 1 villager, and then the Strelets immediately gonna be brought in to deal with the Sepoys, and he takes out both Sepoys as well. Of course, India's guy is now calling Minutemen to deal with the Cossacks. I think actually Heroes takes a little bit too much damage. If you see here, if I bring up the alt key, you see that he lost 3 Cossacks, because this one is almost dead, now is actually dead. And of course India always has his elephants. You should never underestimate the power of these 2 elephants. They are so tanky, so beefy. 375 HP, 0.2 range resistance. That's of course something that applies to Strelets. So they just don't take that much damage from Russian army in general, unless you mix in a lot of Cossacks. I believe that yes, he called both Minutemen, so the pikemen as well as the ranged infantry. Actually, that is quite, I would say, maybe a little bit of an overreaction there. Of course, it resulted in Heroes losing actually all of his Cossacks, as you see. However, of course, it cost the Indian player quite some resources as well. Meanwhile, if we see in the improvements, we see that here the market for India is going for a decently economic approach here, with some market upgrades already. I'm not sure actually why he already researched water wheel. Oh wait, that's... Anyway, he has 3 market upgrades, and we see that just Heroes is going for a lot of pressure. He sent 4 Cossacks afterwards, after the 5 Cossacks, and he keeps making Strelet to just keep pushing into the base of the Indian guy. And the idea actually of Heroes here is just to keep on a lot of pressure while building villages back at home to slowly grow his economy, while the Indian guy has to hide in his town center, and here loses another villager as well. You see now that it's 19 versus 20 villagers. Heroes did skip a little bit, I believe, otherwise he's... Oh, there it is, 23, okay. So he is making villages relatively constantly, and that of course allows him to get ahead on the economy while he's just harassing with these Strelets here. He still has of course the 13 Strelet shipment available. We have to see what he's gonna do, if he's gonna use that or not. I think actually he should be really careful, because of course there's also 4 camels available for the Indian player. So if Heroes is going on full Strelets and 4 camels pop out, then of course the Strelets would all be dead. So it would be about time for him soon to mix in either some Cossacks or Musketeers. And if he wants to mix in some Cossacks or catch up with some economic upgrades, then it might be good for him to ship 700 wood. We see that he only has hunting dogs so far. Actually, I'm not sure why he would research Great Coat. 75 food, in my opinion, if you rush like this, should be used to keep your villager production going and to keep your army production going, and not to research villager HP at this time in the game. If you pressure the Indian guy so much, he can't really raid. He has to defend at home, so that means that you don't need your villager HP yet. 75 food can be put into something else more useful. We see that indeed there is 700 wood. That means that there will also be maybe a second blockhouse, but for sure a stable. There we have a stable. And by the way, this is what I mean. Now the Indian guy has, of course, sent the 4 camels. I believe it was 4 camels there. He uses 300 export card as well, so he now also has the 3 hussars from the consulate available. And around this time you can expect a raid, and then around this time you should be thinking about doing your villager HP. We see that he, of course, saw this raid coming because he had 1 villager there. Luckily, these villagers escape, or kind of. There they go towards his army, and he's using his army to defend from this raid. To be honest, I think the Indian player can even take this. It's just 5 musketeers and like 8 Strelas or something. The Russian musketeers, of course, are not very powerful. I actually think I might have taken this fight over here, but it's questionable because, of course, if the musketeers go in melee mode, they do quite some additional damage. But maybe if you could have, you know, scared the villagers a little bit away, and they have to run away, so it would be less income for heroes. Anyway, we see now that the Indian player is kind of stabilizing here. He has his stable up as well, and actually he also used... I'm not sure if the villagers show up. No, of course he used 3 hussars, so he doesn't have the 3 villages yet. We see now a blockhouse building there for heroes, trying to take some more map control. However, this is something he can't engage. This is... I'm actually surprised that he's running away with yeah, okay, there's more coming. I was about to say, if Gurkhas aim at the musketeers, then the rest of the cavalry can kind of clean it up. However, he brought in 2 more Cossacks and 5 more musketeers. That means that's quite a bit tougher for him to clean this up. I really hope that there are some more Cossacks on the way for heroes, because that's something that he really needs, and in turn that means also that soon he should mix in some Zamburak, that is the Indian player. Quite decent micro here. The musketeers were all put in melee mode, and actually that means that the hussars should not be fighting over here, should either run around or to the Sterilus or walk away as they do now. I think that the Indian guy just stayed a little bit too long here for this fight. That means that actually now it's... I would say it's still relatively even. As you see here, economy is 28 to 26. Of course, there are 2... The Indian guy took quite some damage early on. I think a little bit too much, to be honest. He lost a few too many vills, in my opinion. But on the other hand, he went for a more economic strategy. As you saw here, the earlier market upgrades. He also has 2nd food upgrade now. 2nd gold upgrade is coming in. And heroes only has the hunting dogs and placer mines, not even steel traps yet. So the base economy of the Indian player is quite good, and of course the units are always still very strong. However, something he has to think about is how does he get map control later on. We see that he has 1 hunt quite oddly placed here in the back, and another one here. This hunt actually... There's some lag. I hope no one's gonna drop. So far so good, or not. This hunt here is of course secured by this blockhouse from heroes, so it will be hard for Diarouga to get to that. We have 1 hunt he can bring in from this side. He's not doing so yet, and we also see that heroes is taking map control on this side already, with his army in the middle and with his blockhouse building a new blockhouse over there. I'm not sure what's going on here. It seems like one of them has a connection problem. I'm pretty sure it's not me. Yeah, yes. I'm still there. Okay, seems the game is going again. Fixing this bug. So what I was about to say is that the Indian player can, of course, hold out for a little bit. He has some hurts here in the back, but soon he has to think about getting some map control back before everything is taken by heroes and before heroes can mass a big army. Because keep in mind, heroes made a stable there, did his steel traps as well, made, sorry, a stable, I mean a barracks, outpost, blockhouse, that is over there. He also made a blockhouse over here. That's of course quite a big investment. That means that for the moment he won't have as many units, as many resources and as many units in his army. And there we see also that he was going for a raid here, maybe anticipating this herd to be herded towards his town center. However, in doing so, he's losing quite a lot of units, and now you see there 19 army population versus 9. And that's why, as Russia especially, it's a mistake a lot of people make. If you go for this map control thing, like he's doing now, and thus invest so many resources into getting this control, you should not be too aggressive in pushing out on the map, because it's likely that your opponent has more invested in his army, and thus he will crush your army. Anyway, Heroes is ahead in villagers. You see he's 6 villagers now ahead. And with his second food upgrade, that will of course result in a lot of food income soon, which is something a Russian guy relies on a lot. This one goat here, I'm not sure if it's on purpose or not. I actually think it might be, because it gives some additional line of sight. This blockhouse covers like this part. This is like a little bit of additional line of sight in case there's an army or a raid pushing out, and of course the rest is like almost everything is covered by this blockhouse over there. This hero of course posting out there. I don't like really to have a hero here all the time, because likewise, as I said with the Indian heroes before, this hero has 500 HP, 0.10 range resistance. It's a very big meat shield, a lot of line of sight you can use to scout your opponent's army, you can use to tank up some damage. I really recommend using it in your army and not having it idle over there so for such a long time. It looks like Heroes is trying to go for a Strelet Cossack composition. Might be a little bit early to say, but if the Indian guy is going for a Gurkha Camel Sawar composition, that of course is going to crush the Strelet Cossacks, because then there would be no anti-cavalry, which means that he is going to use his cavalry to block the Sawars, but that means that the Zamburak will be able to take down the Cossacks. So far we see that Diarouga realized he has an an army advantage, and thus he's gonna push out to take some of this map control back. In the meantime, Heroes is doing a nice job raiding left and right. He is coming in with a raid. This is still not hurted, by the way. He's coming in with a raid in the back, killing 1, 2, 3. Actually, this hero is now doing a good job tanking some of these Zamburak shots. He killed like 4 villages even. Wow, that's actually way too much. He's gonna lose a lot of Cossacks in the process, but if he can then hold out, and that is something Russia can do with all these blockhouses over the map, spread over the map, it means that he has more time to rebuild his army. And then I think in this case it's fine to trade some Cossacks for villagers. You see now that he's 15 villagers ahead. Actually it's gonna be 16, 17 villagers. And that means that his economic advantage is huge at this point. Of course, the Indian guy, you have to keep in mind, did by the way also research the imperial bureaucracy upgrade, so he's very good on his economic upgrades now. But he also has of course the 2 wood trickle cards, which are like 6 more villagers I believe, something like that. So actually the difference is about 10 villagers. Constant pressure here, constant raiding, keeping Diarouga busy left and right. When he's busy trying to catch the Cossacks over here, Heroes gonna come in over there. It's one of the strengths of this player actually. He's quite good in multitasking overall. I think he's still a bit rusty, and this is not something that you should do. You're not now losing too many Cossacks. On the other hand, we see again 23 villagers versus 43 now. So as long as he's trading units for cheap units, by the way, because 1 Cossack doesn't cost that much. As long as he's trading units like this for villagers and he keeps his map control and gathers all over the map, it's actually a fine. He's in a fine spot. We do see, by the way, that his 700 gold was shipped earlier and used to make units, to make Cossacks, I believe. That means that if he wants to age, he will have to gather a lot of gold by himself without using any crates. That will of course be a little bit delayed compared to, for example, the quite standard I want to age, so I ship 700 gold and I'm up fast afterwards. These elephants are now working on the villages. I don't like that his elephants are so far out on the map, both of them, because he's now gonna lose probably both of them. He has some idle musketeers, by the way. He's now going to take out the blockhouse finally to hopefully get back this this control. And as we see over here, Heroes quickly shooting this herd away to make sure it's as far away as possible from the Indian player. He lost 1 camel and he did manage to save both elephants. Okay, that's nice. Heroes should be going back, not engage this. I don't think it's a good idea. Okay, he tries to get on some free shots, but of course this Gurkha army is stronger than the Strelet army. There are almost as many Gurkhas as Strelets. Wait, I can actually see this. There's 18, okay, wait, sorry. There's 18 Gurkhas, 28 Strelets, but of course Gurkhas are much stronger. They cost more as well. So with the Zamburak as cover, this is something that the Gurkhas can engage. However, I do like if you would micro the Gurkhas a little bit more. They have of course 2 more range than the Strelets, so you don't have to be in Strelet range constantly. There we see camels coming in, and this is the problem I mentioned earlier. Heroes has no anti-cavalry. That means he has to use his Cossacks to block the camels, but that means that the Zamburak can take out the Cossacks in turn. And that's of course not a cost-effective trade. However, it seems that the trade is going decently overall. We have another raid coming in here. Musketeers being used to raid as well. And he's gonna lose a lot more villages. Heroes will lose his army, but the question is Diarouga able to capitalize on this small victory over here? He has to take out a lot of things around the map. For example, a blockhouse here. There's no safety blockhouse. That means that if Heroes would lose this one, he would be in a very awkward spot, because then he has to train from this one or quickly build another blockhouse. But the fact that he's doing some constant raiding really made it worthwhile. 20 villages now versus 51. This really means that Diarouga should be able... Where actually is... Oh, he sent all his Zamburak back. Oh, you should be really careful now, because if there's like... Heroes has 2 stables, so if there's like 10 Cossacks popping out, they would just crush his whole Gurkha army. And actually these 8 Cossacks are already doing so. Keep in mind that Heroes also has shipped Boyars and cavalry HP. That means his cavalry is very strong. 281 HP, 29 attack. Same goes for his strelets. And there you see, good game. Yeah, totally outplayed. Well, I think the idea of Heroes to pressure the Indian guy is... I'm not sure if it's the best option, but it's a decent option, let's just say that. Because strelets are relatively cheap and they can keep the Indian guy quite busy. And if he sends 4 camels early, it will hurt his economy, or rather he will have a less good economy compared to, for example, as he did now, 600 wood and... oh, I can't click this. Well, he sent 600 wood and 300 export. So even if you force him to send 4 camels, you might still be okay. However, I'm not sure why this Arga fort was placed over here. It was not really protecting anything. It could have been placed over here where it was this hunt, and there were, I believe, some deers over there. Maybe even like here to have a more of a kind of cover for this herd if he would herd it on time. Or maybe even just in the middle of the map to have a herd over there and a gold mine, and I believe there was a second herd as well. So questionable placement, I would say. Anyway, maybe he didn't expect a rush from the Russian player, because yeah, of course the Indians are quite strong, so I think they should be able to hold a rush better. Anyway, he lost also a little bit too many villagers. If we can still see the post game here, you see that here, look at this, 19, just 1 villager in the start, but then from minute 640 it really goes down fast. From 23 to 18, that's 5 villages, that's way too many. You can't lose 5 villages that early. So maybe a little bit sloppy play by him. And then of course you are so much behind on economy that it's really hard to recover from there. Versus a Russian guy who is just spamming villages 3 at a time, as you also were able to see here. Yeah, there's not even a delay, so it's very well played by Heroes there. Losing like 1 or 2 villages in that raid that I showed, and then constant 3 villager production again. The military production is of course strelets mainly here, so that means that of course there's a lot of military unit count, but it's not as cost. I mean, it's not as it doesn't cost as much as a general Indian army, because it's not as strong. Then later on, Heroes did a very good job with just constant pressure, left and right, raiding left and right. The thing is that I know, of course, Heroes, Diarouga probably doesn't, but if you see a player who is gonna raid you from so many sides and also raiding constantly, it would be a wise decision to just post some Sepoy or Zamburak back home to make sure that you can deal with those raids more effectively, more efficiently. Instead, he didn't, and he had his army a lot of times in the wrong position or too far out on the map and nothing back at home. And then in turn he lost a lot of villagers or even gathering time. Also, if he, for example, had some more back home and he could safely gather, he could of course mass some more units. But also he might have been able to do a more, a better push with his army earlier. Because I felt that at some point he had too much of an army idle, especially when, if you remember in the early part, when Heroes here came in with like 10 strelets, a few musketeers and some Cossacks. The Gurkhas that stood over here and a few Zamburak, they just owned this army, and that means that Heroes was at like 9 population to 19 or something. Then he should have raided a little bit more effectively, or maybe pushed a little more effectively, I think. Anyway, well played by Heroes. This is a BO1 for the group stage, and I will quickly see if there's another game I can cast.